There was a day I was sitting out in the yard and I was like, okay, my head hurts so bad. What do I do? Oh, I think I could maybe drill some holes in my head.
I was living in sunglasses, couldn't think straight, I was having trouble riding in a car, I was having trouble reading, I was having trouble having my eyes open and functioning if I was not in a dark room.
Light, sound, motion comes into your brain from the environment. You're supposed to be able to handle it subconsciously. That's what's different about this from all other therapies, is this goes directly to the brainstem where the autonomic nervous system is regulated. This has been a game changer in my career, the most powerful tool in my career.
Can I try it?
Yeah.
So what am I doing?
You don't have to do anything but look here. We'll have the light coming out for you to look at. All you do is gaze at it. You want the nervous system to absorb the energy of the light, the motion, and the sound into the brainstem. The brainstem doesn't think, okay? It doesn't know how to think. And that's where the therapy is targeted. Feeling gravity, and then you're not feeling the gravity, and then you're feeling some vibration randomly. Visually, you're feeling this intake of different wavelengths of visible light. You're on this for 25 to 30 minutes. Come back on for another 25 to 30 minutes. 2 of those each day for 12 days.
By day 8, I had made more progress than I had made in 5 months of occupational, physical, and speech therapy.
And by day 4, I was working like normal all over again.
I would tell anyone to come do this. I think that I am so grateful Dr. Curtis is in my city and that this is an option for me, because I don't think I would be where I am today if I did not do this.
Hey everybody, I am here at the Vision Performance Center in Columbus, Ohio with Dr. Curtis here, and I am learning about multi-sensory training, and we wanted to start this off talking about a pretty significant piece of equipment, and I was hoping that you could tell me a little bit of the how this helps people and the kinds of things that it helps them with, and then talk a little bit about the equipment itself.
Oh, this has been a game changer in my career, the most powerful tool in my career for patients who are suffering from developmental delays, ADHD, brain trauma, whether it's concussion, stroke, sometimes brain surgeries happen and there's a damage to the brain that we can work with because we're reaching the part of the brain that nothing else can reach with this intervention. It's basically called multisensory training. The multisensory stimulation is a term that means we're using different stimuli to address pathways in the brain, but we're using those stimuli simultaneously, not individually. That's what we start to learn as babies, as infants, and then with child development. You have to learn how to be in your world with all this stimulation coming in. That's difficult for some kids. It's difficult for patients who've had brain injury.
Yeah.
And so I see so many of those patients, long COVID patients, pandas, goes on and on, the list goes on. If there was some kind of neurological damage due to various causes, trauma, virus infections, we're probably going to see problems with multisensory processing.
So what types of things are helped, specifically, what would be
dizziness, a big one. And that's my passion of it, is helping people with dizziness. If you can resolve dizziness or reduce it tremendously, you can help patients start to think better because they don't have to think about being balanced. So when you're dizzy, you're not on autopilot for staying straight up and not having the world pull you this way or that way or this way, or the world spinning. So dizziness is so fatiguing to the patients that when we can help them with that, all of a sudden they can think again. They have more energy to do other things, and they are less of a risk for falling or having an accident with driving, or they can get back to doing their sport again. Lots of professional athletes, college athletes, elementary school kids, dizziness isn't always something that you see, but that's the number one. Okay, otherwise, I would say light sensitivity. We see a lot of people with light sensitivity that gets resolved quickly here. Car sick. A lot of patients have car sickness, and they live with it all their lives. And then all of a sudden, we've either eliminated or reduced it. And then we have patients with sleep difficulties. we help them with. We have patients with emotional regulation difficulties, anxiety, sadness, irritability, anger, without really knowing why.
Yeah.
It's because it's so deeply embedded in pathways that they can't get themselves out of it, nor can some professionals that are providing instruction, strategies, activities to get them out of that. We put them through multisensory training.
Yeah.
That's what works.
So
Yeah.
where the BMX side of things
Oh.
fits into all of this
Yeah.
is that there are a lot of BMX riders, like my friend Jason Dorito here, who we crash, we hit our heads, things happen, and the result of traumatic brain injuries, we all know people who've had those, can be any of the things that you've talked about. And it sounds like this is stuff that could have happened without any like real cause that we know of, or something, there was an incident that made it happen. And this piece of equipment here, from my understanding, is something that you've helped develop and work on and helps with these things.
Correct. Yeah. It's not always traumatic insult. I call it neurological insults. Sometimes it's traumatic that you don't recall. Sometimes I have to tell a patient, okay, you're going to dig into your history, because I can guarantee you somewhere in your life you had a whiplash. It may have been a rear ending, could have been a roller coaster ride that maybe went too rapid, jerky, or it can be accumulative, where one concussion you got over real quick, no problems. The next one, maybe okay. It's like the accumulation of another concussion. The nervous system says, I'm done. I can't recover by myself anymore. I can't recover fully, so this is how life is. And patients come in and 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, 10 months. It doesn't matter how long ago they started having the symptoms. It doesn't matter. We have success from any time in their life. And so many patients will say, I've been dealing with this for so long, I can't believe it took 8 days to get this improvement. So, yeah. But
Tell me a little bit about the machine.
okay, machine. Okay, so let's call it a system.
Okay, system.
Yeah, no, it's a machine. Definitely it's a machine, but let's say system of stimuli.
So this is what helps, is part of the process for helping the things we've been talking about.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So the system is comprised of syntonic phototherapy. This box here emits specific wavelengths of visible light. So this is going to be presented to the eye of the retina, or eye of the patient. So the patient's retina receives the stimulation of the light frequencies while they're lying on this table right here. Okay, the patient's right here, lying here, looking at the syntonic phototherapy. It's a form of biomodulation. Some people have heard that term. It's kind of a cool new term. All right. And then they're going to be stimulated by motion. So the platform here, which looks like a bed, it's a comfy bed because it has a really nice mattress to it. It'll start rotating the patient to stimulate what's called the vestibular system, the inner ear. And inside the brain, there are nerves that are called vestibular nerves. So we stimulate that part of the system in addition to the vision, okay? Then the patient will be stimulated also by a listening stimulation auditory program, okay, that exercises your listening skills. Okay. So would you like to see it all happening?
Yeah,
Or
show
at
me.
least Let's show the bed.
Yeah,
Okay, let's get that rolling. All right, you might have to do a cutout on this.
that's okay.
Yeah.
So maybe, can you talk while you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's some of the history on where this has come from throughout time and how it got to where it is now even?
Right. So multisensory integration is a term and an intervention that has been around for a long time, and it's being researched at many universities. From probably the 60s and 70s, it really started grabbing the attention of healthcare providers thanks to occupational therapists, Jean Ayers. She created something called sensory integration. Well, this is a takeoff from that somewhat, but we're adding onto that. We're loading onto that sensory integration by doing multiple sensory stimuli, the vision,
Yeah,
and the
okay.
motion, and the sound. and the actual table does a low vibration, so the patient will feel a little bit of what's called proprioceptive input. So these are protocols specific to what we need the patient to receive. Okay, so it's not just a throw 'em anything, because life throws you multi-sensory stimulation every day, and you can't handle it. So we do a very controlled, gentle, multi-sensory training in a clinically safe way.
Yeah.
To prepare you for the world out there that's bombarding you with lights, sound, motion, movements, smells, all that. So
Kind of the opposite of what you see in movies when people are being tortured and they're put in a chair, they're tied up, there's extremely loud music playing, and then flashing images on a screen of horrific things is the opposite of that kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, there's so many patients that say, hey, I can go to a concert now. I can go to the movie theater now. I can be around my kids. I can be around my neighbors again. I can sit on the deck with my neighbors and have a glass of wine finally. It's been years for that. All that sensory stimulation is now very manageable, tolerable, and this teaches the brain to filter out the distracting, annoying sounds so that you can pay attention to what's right there that you want to enjoy.
Yeah.
Instead of being overwhelmed and kind of scared about the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grocery stores is a big one. Yeah. All right. So let's get the table started. Okay.
And it's that simple, but it is that effective.
Yeah. And then
Can we hear it if you put it over here?
yeah.
Okay, so basically what's happening is the music is going
Choppy. Yeah.
randomly from
Correct.
left to right.
We're exercising the auditory pathways. We're getting kind of an aerobic exercise of listening, not listening, and varying the frequencies, varying the volume in a very gentle but strategically proven way. Okay.
This is interesting.
And then we're providing this up and down where you're feeling gravity and then you're not feeling the gravity, and then you're feeling the gravity and not feeling the gravity, and then you're feeling some vibration randomly, and then you're feeling visually, you're feeling this intake of different wavelengths of visible light. So we ought to show that here in a moment. Let's take the headphones off here.
Okay, so while this is all happening, you're listening to the headphones, you're sitting there, and it's going through this process. How long are you on this for?
Well, you're on this for 25 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
Then you get to take a little break.
Okay.
Okay, and we might do some other types of activities and exercises. You might go and take a restroom break, hydrate, come back on for another 25 to 30 minute session. So 2 of those each day for 12 days.
Okay.
12 days in a row, or we try to get the 12 days within 2 weeks for sure. And that repetition is so important. Repetition is the mother of skill. Your nervous system, to learn something, needs to have it done regularly over and over again, but it also needs to have novel introduction. It needs to have something changing. Otherwise the nervous system gets bored. It won't start to learn to change. So neuroplasticity, we've kind of heard that term. That's a kind of a fun term.
It's a podcast term.
Yeah, but people don't know what it means that much.
Yeah.
To create neuroplasticity or change in nervous system function, or wake up some nervous system function that just is dormant or being suppressed. You want to modify the nervous system function and performance. You need to keep introducing change to it, and that is how it then learns to respond as you go out and introduce yourself to the world, or introduce yourself to new parts of the world that you haven't been to for a while. And when I say parts of the world, that could be the grocery store, again, parties and kids' games and kids' performances, work, just being able to go back to work.
So how is this like the whole program? Is there something before this and after this? How long is the entirety of it?
Well, in order for this to have it customized for the patient, we have pre-testing visit first. That pre-testing visit does a certain battery of tests to provide us what we want to set our protocol to for the sound stimulation, the light stimulation. Specifically, the table is going to continue to do this, but each day, get ready for this, each day there's going to be a change in the table to where we actually provide a different stimulation direction,
Okay.
like that. And what we're doing here is providing the vestibular system the opportunity to be stimulated in a way in which we're moving in the world differently, whether it's like this or we're moving like this. Okay, that's real life. That's why we change the table position each day.
So how long in total is average, would you say, is the program?
Yeah, it's 12 days here in the office, and then there's more therapy that we assign to do at home after that.
Okay.
And each patient's case is different, anywhere from a couple 3 weeks to a couple 3 months for each patient. Yeah.
Well, what I'm thinking here, right, sorry. So I come from the BMX world. Jason comes from the BMX world. People know him as Dorito in that world. So it's natural for a person to see all of this and hear all of this talk and be like, what is going on? Right. And so this is where Dorito comes in, because he's a super grounded and down-to-earth person. He's the one who called me to even come and make this video. He's been through almost all the way through this, right?
I just got through the final day today, but I'm doing further therapy.
Okay, so you've experienced head trauma, you've crashed, hit your head, all of that, and it led to some serious things. And this is something, I mean, you felt compelled to call me because it was so effective for you. So how has this impacted like your experience? I don't know what to call what was wrong, because I don't know the full extent of it.
Quality of life,
Yeah, quality of life, everything. So basically I came in because I started just trying to find help because something was wrong with me and I didn't know what. I literally had tuned the idea of head injuries, CTE, any of it completely out of my head. Because I had friends die, and I knew a lot of people who had problems, and I was like, well, that's not me, I'm fine, I obviously made it out. I'm doing really well, I'm super successful now, so obviously none of these things can be happening to me. So I first thought I found my biological father a couple of years ago, found out he had gout. I was like, maybe I had gout. Beth said you'd be the most active person in the world with gout, and so don't have gout. And then I started thinking maybe I had MS, and maybe I had this, and maybe I had that. And one day, like, she sat me down and was like, hey, you told me to never bring this up, because she brought it up a long time ago, and I kind of chewed at her about it and said never bring it up again. And she said, well, you're going to keep going to doctors because they don't know what's wrong with you. And she's like, I think it's from your head injuries. I think you might have CTE. And so I started to look around and try to figure out what to do about it. Talked to somebody that talked about hyperbaric therapy. Helped for a minute. I felt a little bit of relief. But then I started looking around, trying to find a doctor. I talked to Dr. Buddy. So we all know Dr. Buddy. He's been around the BMX community forever.
Yeah.
Great dude in Cleveland. He gave me a couple numbers. One of them was local in Columbus, and it was Dr. Curtis. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go see what this is all about. So I really didn't know. He looked at me in 5 seconds, and he goes, okay, put your head straight. My head at the time was like this, and that's where I really thought my head should be. And he goes, oh, your head's crooked. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's weird. And then he put on these glasses, and I was like, oh, wow, I'm not dizzy. And I was like, wait, I'm dizzy all the time? That little things I didn't know. And what really drove it was drove me to really get help. There was a day I was sitting out in the yard, and I was like, okay, my head hurts so bad. What do I do? Oh, I think I could maybe drill some holes in my head. And I really thought about it. How do you relieve pressure from it? Well, I'll drill some holes in my head. That was just too far. And so once I got to that point, it was like, I really need help.
Yeah.
So talking to Dr. Curtis, the first time I talked to Dr. Curtis, he was so excited and so enthusiastic about what he was doing. I knew it worked, but I had no idea. Like, I wasn't staring at a picture of the table. I wasn't staring at anything about the table. I wasn't in this room. I was upstairs. So I had no idea what he was talking about. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this guy says he can help me, but, he's talking about lights and sounds and a table. So I don't really know what's going on. In my head, I'm picturing the table spinning around and all types of stuff. But then I read the reviews, and there was, all the way from professional athletes all the way to guys who were like 60, 70 years old and getting help and like how much better they felt. And I was like, wow, these reviews are insanely good. The actual statistical numbers were actually really good. So seeing all that kind of together, and I was like, I got to give it a shot. So, you know, I come in and they tell me, well, your brain's going to feel a little bit like things might be too much at first. And so I came in and I was ready to be off of work for, 2.5 weeks, I think it was. And so I took that time off. Luckily, everybody I work with and everybody who I employ was really nice to me and was down to help me out. And by day 4, I was working like normal all over again. And I don't know what happened. So one day, I think it's day 6. It's day 7 actually, but it was before I went through the 7 treatment. Mm-hmm. You came in the room and you started talking to me, and they were like, hey, you're feeling really good. So, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. I feel great. Like, all my symptoms from head pressure were like, 7 to 10. My headaches were 7 to 10. Everything, dizziness was 7 to 10. I could be standing here like this and I could actually start to tip over and have to grab something. I was bumping into everything when I was walking. My left arm wasn't working right anymore. I also was having brain cramps. I don't even know what the hell else to call them. I would literally sit at my desk and I'd stretch and all of a sudden I'd feel this weird pinch in the back of my head and I'd fall on the ground. Don't even know what that was about. I was having all of those issues, and then basically by that point, a lot of those issues went away. And he mentions, some people are red responders, meaning the color red, the bright red he was showing. And so, being a red responder, I was getting better really quickly. And I felt more like myself than I have in the last 10 years. What's hard about it is like you don't really know how long it's been. For me, I was like, oh, these symptoms are recent. It started out, when it started getting bad, it was something like I would go to a finance event, be on an elevator. Let's say the elevator was on the 18th floor, and I'd be like, oh, that's why I'm getting sick, because I'd puke if I went down the elevator too fast. And I was like, oh, must be too high, elevation, something. I'd explain it away. Then I went to New York, and I was on the 2nd floor, and the same thing was happening. And so it was like, okay, something's wrong. And so you think about little things like that going back, and it's like, actually I can go back to being 25 years old and having tinnitus in my ears really badly, to the point where I thought like somebody was playing music and I would get up and like run downstairs and there's nobody in the house, nobody around the house, nobody doing anything. Tinnitus is a ringing in the ears. Mm-hmm. And then like I had like these panic attacks when I was driving my truck and trailer, which I've driven trucks and trailers since I was 16 years old, so I didn't know why. And so that happened, and I was like, okay, this is weird, and I can't just push through things like I used to. And so, like, it was like something was going on that was much deeper. And, like, you have little problems with your leg, and, like, I had a weird thing where, like, if I did a running motion where I lifted up my left arm and my right leg at the same time, it would make me throw up. So just doing, like, marching in place and stuff.
So this has had an impact on all of that?
All of it, yes. I haven't thrown up since at all. I haven't gotten sick. I haven't gotten nauseous. Light sensitivity is completely gone. I don't notice the lights at all anymore.
Interesting.
Bright lights, especially ones that like we have in the house for our plants. They're like little ring lights, but they're like all fluorescent. I don't even notice them anymore. I used to have to go around and turn them off all day long, but I don't even notice them.
Interesting.
My hearing has gotten ridiculously well. I thought I was going to need hearing aids because I was just not hearing people right. But it just came to, I was just listening through my left ear instead of my right. It's just, the list is endless. I had a heart thing where like this is part of the reason why riding sucked, is like I would sit down and I would stand up. So you have a sitting heart rate, which is my resting rate. It's normal. It's like 70, 80. I would stand up and all of a sudden I'd be completely out of breath, I'd be tired, and I'd be angry. I'd feel like the Hulk. I don't know why. All of a sudden I'd just be really angry and I'd be like, I don't understand why I'm so pissed off right now. Mm-hmm. And like that just kept happening. And so I wore a heart monitor and it said it went from 80 to 140. So just from seated to standing. Mm-hmm. And so like, and people don't know, it's like your nervous system, because a lot of people might watch the beginning, of this and go, oh, well, this is for people who, can't deal with things. And really it's like, no, man, I rode as hard as, I could. Nobody in the world would ever say I couldn't deal with hard stuff. Been hurt a million times, been through a bunch of stuff. This happens to a lot of people.
And that's where I was about to go with all of this, is that the whole reason you called me and that I'm here doing this and talking about this is there's people in BMX near and dear to all of us that aren't here anymore because of issues that they've had. And it's like, you went through some stuff where you literally like, I want to drill holes in my head. Mm-hmm. And you went from that to be feeling completely okay again because of what you're doing here. And that's something that can be valuable for other people in general to hear. So that's kind of why we're here, why we're having this conversation. And that leads me to the next questions I have for you is this something that is temporary? Is it something that you have to do every periodically? You know what I mean? Or is this like what kind of a solution is this?
Well, in the case of the head injury population, it can be one time and done. It just depends. If you've had a history of multiple concussions and you've lived with that for a long time, your nervous system has learned to go to a default, not a good place, but a default for survival. And that's what happens. So the nervous system then gets retrained to perform in the way it's supposed to perform, the way it used to perform. And wow, things so good, but sometimes life brings things at you, right? And so you might have a little bit of a reversal to the old ways, but never as bad as before. So we have patients that come in for boosters. They come in periodically, once a month, once a week, a couple times a week, once a year, or they come in and repeat this. So every case is different. So you have to customize it to the nervous system, because every nervous system is like a fingerprint. Okay, our nervous systems are different. And then each insult or concussion or head injury is a fingerprint on top of another fingerprint. So we have to be very cognizant of that. Listen to the patient, listen to the nervous system of the patient, follow it, and continue to mold it until the glue dries. And so sometimes the glue won't dry right away, sometimes it will. And I say glue, like if you break a vase and you try to put it back together with glue, super glue, you kind of have to wait, got to test the water, put things in it, put it out in life, and then see how life hits you. And then you go back to work, you go back to writing, you go back to being on the computer and producing and writing papers like you were writing crazy. Yeah, I love that story where you were just taking 4 hours to write a paper and then 20 minutes you wrote 3 or 4 or something like that. That was so cool. And that was within the 6 or 7 days. Yeah, so that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so this is the kind of thing that feels like it's applicable to like just about anybody. You can find something, and it's wild to me hearing all of this stuff, the range of like symptoms and conditions, I guess you could say, that it helps out with. Because normally when you talk about medicine or therapies, you focus on like a very specific thing. Like this is something that is just
Let me tell you why. You need to know why. Because this is targeted at the autonomic nervous system.
Okay. Your
autonomic nervous system is why we breathe. It's why our heart runs correctly. It's why we can swallow. So a lot of the things you were talking about changing in you, and nausea and vomiting, okay, those are all autopilot functions that you and I get up and every day.
Breathing without having to think about breathing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Concussion, head injuries cause the brain to have to go to a deliberate, strategic way to do some of the things that are supposed to be on autopilot. So it's like, okay, I got to fly this plane now without help because we lost electrical power to the autopilot function. Okay, we can do it, but it's going to be labor intensive. It's going to be exhaustive. And then we're not going to be able to be as pleasant. We're going to be anxious. All that comes to the surface. So this targets, that's what's different about this from all other therapies, is this goes directly to the brainstem where the autonomic nervous system is regulated. So it's a process of the old primitive pre-cortex part of the brain. Cortex is this part. This is where I want to pull this out. So your autonomic nervous system, it's all being kind of just processed right in here. So when
Okay.
light, sound, motion comes into your brain from the environment, you're supposed to be able to handle it subconsciously. But when you have head injuries don't just cause problems up here, which is the thinking part. The concussions most often cause problems here too.
Yeah.
Or in addition, because when you shake your head, you can hit the side of the head, but it may not be problematic here. But if you have a head that hits the floor, bounces a couple times, and then something else falls on it, like a bike or something, okay, you're going to get wiggling and shaking, okay, like kind of like the baby shaking syndrome, brain syndrome thing. Then this part has axons that get damaged, not permanently damaged, just damaged enough that the brain says, let's put those aside, not use them right now. Let's use our executive, our thinking part of the brain, to get through our day.
So you got to turn them back on.
You got to get these back on.
Yeah.
And that's what the light accesses through the retina, optic nerve, it bypasses this part of the brain, goes right into here. Same with the auditory, same with the motion. And that's why when you're a baby, you don't learn how to speak, you don't learn how to think. You learn how to take in the motion of your mom carrying you, the sounds that are going on in the delivery room. Whoa, all these doctors talking, nurses. There's lights. You have to take in baby has to first learn how to regulate itself right here. And that's what you're supposed to have on autopilot throughout your entire life. But brain injuries or other types of neurological insults, that's where the secret is.
Yeah.
And it gets overlooked by most of your medicine and healthcare. It gets totally overlooked. We keep trying to teach us how to fix it cognitively or executively.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to go next is, I mean, another reason why like you were so excited to have a video like this and a conversation like this and all of your testimonials online, you constantly talking about like, I just want to get this out to the world. And it sounds like I don't know what challenges there are to that, but it sounds like there are challenges and this is something that seems like it's truly helping people. And
well, some people want to see research.
Yeah.
And we've got 2 universities that have donated a system to. One is the College of Medicine at Miami University in Florida, and they are seeing some amazing results, and they are so excited about the studies that we're going to be publishing in the future on different populations. So from TBI, concussion, to some other types of neurological insults. So we really are excited about the science behind it. I'm a very science-based guy. This is something that people don't really recognize or hear about, but it works. So when I see something work, I was telling Jason, I said, it drives me crazy to not know how to understand why it's working. Because you sometimes accidentally on purpose fall into a way of helping a patient. Every doctor will tell you that. It's like, wow, didn't mean to, but this worked. I don't know how we found that out. Everything we have proven has been accidentally found first.
Yeah.
So now we're in this process of finding the proof.
Yeah.
And showing it. So, but there's so many patients that want to just say, don't wait for the proof. It'll change your life. It changes your life.
Some of the best BMX tricks I'm sure you've ever done, I've ever done, have been things where we weren't even trying, but became a result of something else you did that made this thing happen, that then you went down a different path and led you to laying on a bed with lights above you and headphones on. And
then you try to repeat it and tweak it, and somebody says, oh, I want to do that now. So, so I'm trying to get this out to other doctors around the country. And, I've got about 22 sites in only 3 years, and I'm working to get up to 50 to 100 sites for this, so people don't have to drive hours to get to me.
Yeah. So
what's one? So we're talking about light here. And something that people at home would probably be excited about. What's something that somebody at home, because there's a lot of data about sunlight.
Yeah.
Either it's great for you, some people say don't look at the sun, all this stuff.
Right.
So let's clear it up. What do you think people, adequate amount of sunlight, should they go outside more? Should they take the sunglasses off, try to stare not at the sun directly, but gaze that direction? Would it help them? Because just wondering.
Yeah, it's a great question. And what is so important for people to realize and understand or remember is that we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the sun. Okay, all the energy from the sun is how we keep having every certain tissue and cell in our body vibrates and stays alive thanks to the sun. But then there's a limit. We need to kind of watch how much we're exposing ourselves. So yeah, there should be time spent outside. Absolutely, that's how our body was meant to be, outside. So, we can also refer to the light coming out of here. One way I explain the frequencies, the wavelengths that are coming from this, they're carved out sections of sunlight. So we call it visible light. So when you go outside, you can see, we call it visible light. All right, this is visible light carved out into certain sections so that you can be receiving the energy of certain wavelengths of visible light without it being diluted or saturated from all the wavelengths. But the sun, sometimes you might get too much of a certain wavelength if you spend too much time outdoors, or certain wavelengths overexposure. That's what's good about being able to control it here. But to answer your question, yeah, everybody should be outside. Just get outside. It's good for us. It's healthy to an extent.
To go back to a little bit of this system here and everything, you were talking about the stumbling upon things and trying things and whatever. You were talking a little bit before we were recording about how there was someone who had something before this, and then it kind of was abandoned, unfortunately, and then you took over and developed your own system. So what exactly is all of that about?
Oh, it's so important to credit those who you learn from, those who were the pioneers. So yes, I'm pioneering, but I'm pioneering only thanks to the fact that others did some pioneering before me. First and foremost would be Mary Bowles. She had a system called the Sensory Learning Program. She was in the 80s, 90s, she developed this idea from the sensory integration mindset and having kids on the spectrum, treating a lot of kids on the spectrum because our brain sometimes doesn't mature in multi-sensory processing or develop maybe on track the way it should. So we end up having maybe ADHD, attention difficulties, certain behavioral kind of difficulties, et cetera, et cetera. And then I just stumbled upon the fact that, my concussion population probably should benefit from this. So I started putting my concussion patients that I was seeing on here. So instead of just glasses and certain types of other vision therapy activities that are beneficial, I found, this is like cheating. This is like the kindling to get a fire going, take a newspaper. This just gets things activated to where now everything else can now be done that wasn't working before. Or maybe we just get this and the body says, I got it now. Thanks for waking the brainstem up, that part that's the autonomic nervous system. But Mary Bowles was the one that turned me on to this. She had the system. Rest in peace, Mary. We lost her in 2016 or 17. I was really saddened, not only because we lost the pioneer of this, but I was seeing so much growth and production of other applications such as head injury that I couldn't let this technology die because she was the owner and this company was not able to service and get parts and so forth, so forth. So I said, I'm going to be crazy. I'm going to go out on a limb and redesign, reproduce it, and make it even better. So I've added things, made it protocol-based, and every day I'm trying to learn, how can I make it better with every patient? That's why I come down and talk to my patients to learn and see what else we can do to make this better. And we're really tickled with so now I'm reaching patients all over the country that don't know me from Adam, yet I'm able to touch their lives with this. And that's what I want to continue to do.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned before we got super deep into this about showing like somebody how the table works and everything. Can I try it?
Yeah.
I really want to try it.
Go for a ride.
Yeah. Can you film?
Yep.
All right.
I'm not a good salesman, but when it comes to this, I'm so passionate about it. I mean, I've changed so many lives. I've made people cry and turn their lives around. Family, too. I love when the family and friends say, I have my husband back. I have my wife back. He's ornery now. He's back to being ornery. He's back to being obnoxious instead of being boring. Some of the qualities of life, not just for yourself, but for those around you too.
Yeah.
The kids now are going to get more attention from mom, the way they need it, et cetera. So, okay, let's get on the table.
All right. What do I do?
Yep, we got you comfy. Let's get you right under there with your.
Right here?
To support that neck. It's an orthopedic pillow to help with that neck. So a lot of my patients have improvement in neck pain, and we don't even touch the neck, but the fact that you're able to take in the world so automatically and naturally without having to be so robotic and deliberate all
Yeah,
of a
my
sudden-
posture changed
Yeah.
completely.
and your
Yeah.
neck should get
My
more
neck
improvement.
my neck hurt really bad at first because it was moving,
Yeah.
and then then I was like, oh my gosh, my neck's in the right spot.
Yeah.
It's been great.
It's really, that was an accident too.
Yeah.
I get 50 to 60% improvement in neck pain in just 12 days. Neck pain that's been there for years, right? So it blows my mind. All right, so we'll get you set up. All right, so Brant, we're going to center that light area right here, right above your nose for the most part, and
Yep.
about that distance. So yeah, if we're close enough for demonstration purposes.
So what am I doing?
Yeah, so this is the key difference. You don't have to do anything but look here.
Huh.
So
That's
most
easy.
all therapy interventions are, you have to do this and do that, and do this exercise and do that, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do next. No, you walk in here, get your shoes off, get comfortable, get your blanket, get whatever you need, your little teddy bear, what have you, and then you just chill for 25 minutes.
Cool.
Take a little break, because this is exhausting for the nervous system,
Yeah.
even though you're doing nothing, but it can be exhausting. It can also then be very energetic by a certain day. You're going to start feeling like, okay, man, I'm feeling the energy now instead of exhaustion. All right, and then you sleep better because you're using energy during the day. So by bedtime, most patients are starting to feel like, I'm sleeping better. And like Lauren today, she said, I'm sleeping soundly and I'm not taking naps anymore.
Speaking of her, we have a clip from when she was in here. A quick question that I had for her about this process and life before that. I'll just roll the clip now and then we'll come back to this. What life was like before you came here and how that's changed since you've gone through everything that they did here.
Yeah, so before I came here, I was struggling. I had gone through speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. I'd been in it through neurorehabilitation for 5 months, and I still just wasn't making the progress that I wanted to see. You know, it was a very diminished quality of life. I was living in sunglasses. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't handle loud environments or bright environments. Trying to go to family events with multiple people was super tough. And it felt like I was just barely making it through the workday and then shutting off because I had nothing left in my tank to give. And I would say after here,
Yeah, did something cause that? Was there an event or did it
yeah, so it was my grandpa's 90th birthday. He wanted to go body surfing for his 90th birthday. We were at the beach and I went to go throw the umbrella cover in the trunk of the car, and he took the minivan trunk and he closed it and it was on my head. So I snuck in and it slammed on my head and it gave me a concussion. At the time, I knew I had a concussion, but it didn't feel that bad. I didn't lose consciousness. It wasn't crazy. But as time went on, the effects were really intense, and they were getting worse. And I was having trouble riding in a car. I was having trouble reading. I was having trouble just having my eyes open and functioning if I was not in a dark room. It was just really, really tough.
So how did everything you went through here affect that?
It made it so much better. By day 8, I had made more progress than I had made in 5 months of occupational, physical, and speech therapy. It was just the progress that I saw. I could be outside without sunglasses on. I could think clearly. I could get my job done during the day. You know, there were things I could hang out with friends. I wasn't just barely making it through the day. I think it really just changed my entire quality of life.
And this wasn't set up. You just happened to be here when I walked in, right?
I was actually doing a booster or another round of this today and happened to come in, but I would tell anyone to come do this. I think that I am so grateful Dr. Curtis is in my city and that this is an option for me, because I don't think I would be where I am today if I did not do this.
Thanks.
All right, Brant, you feel comfortable?
I feel something.
All right, so we are making sure the headphones are on your ears completely.
Yep, they're on
Good.
solidly.
Okay, good. The right ear is on the right side and the left earphone is on the left. That's because we do different volumes and frequencies depending on your testing that we did last week.
Yep.
All right, and in a moment we'll have the light coming out for you to look at. All you do is gaze at it. You don't have to stare hard at it. You just relax, gaze at the light, and breathe as natural as you can.
Okay.
And then the table's going to start its motion in a moment. At the same time the table starts the motion, the auditory music will come in through the headphones here, and then the light box will start its
Cool.
job here. Okay, here we go. switched it to the red. All right. How you feeling? You okay?
I'm going into a gaze. I can
Okay,
feel it.
that's good. That's what I wanted you to say. He's doing the gaze. Relax and go into the gaze. And let the world just kind of be away from you right now. Don't go analytical. Don't start thinking hard on things. If that happens,
That's impossible.
let it happen naturally on its own initiative, not with you thinking, okay, I'm going to start working on something.
Kind of like meditation, just let it go.
Yeah, let it go. Yeah. And there will be times where your nervous system says to go ahead and start thinking of something. That's fine, but then kind of let it go if you can. You want the nervous system to absorb the energy of the light, the motion, and the sound into the brainstem. The brainstem doesn't think, okay? It doesn't know how to think. And that's where the therapy is targeted. That's why we tell our clients, do not do any cognitive, high-level, and analytical thinking at the moment. But that's hard to avoid for most of us, okay? It's just keep the effort of that very low. Then what we would normally do, now that you're comfortable, is I'll be turning the lights off and we'll be walking out of the room and leaving you in here. If you need me to stay in the room or need my technician to stay in the room, that's fine. We have that option available. But we'll be watching and monitoring you through this little camera here. This is the infrared camera that keeps my staff able to watch your eyes. If you start falling asleep, we'll intercom you and say, all right, Brent, you can close your eyes for a minute. Now it's time to open back up.
Yeah.
We have enough redundancy built into this, so if you do fall asleep, it's okay. If you have to stop and go potty, we can do that too. But most people don't have any trouble. Even the kids, they love it. They get on here and it's like the magic carpet ride. Even the kids that you don't think will behave or tolerate this, we give them a little practice runs if needed, but then they start to become so engaged with it, they start realizing, their nervous system realizes it needs this, and they start craving it subconsciously, and they come in every day running to get on the table, most of them. It's interesting. Yeah, he wants to take a ride for a while. Betty.
You could turn the lights off.
Yeah, okay, let's do the lights off. We won't leave this off, but we'll take this off in a second.
Well, that changes everything.
Let me try to make this a cooler shot.
Get it? So it's... We'll get his face in there. It's kind of cool. Your face is glowing in the red glow to your face.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and do, I'm going to advance it to the next filter. So we're advancing from the red to a yellow-green. It's kind of cool to show the difference.
Yeah.
All right, so what's going on now?
Oh, yeah, we've got the auditory track now. For everyone to hear, music varies every day, so you're not going to listen to the same music every day, and it's not going to be a music of your choice, it's a music of our choice based on what your needs are. All right, but I just wanted to unplug the headphones so that anybody listening, watching can groove a little bit.
And hear kind of the experience.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll cut now to the after of this part. Should I have been able to feel something in the 5 minutes I was on there?
Oh, yeah.
Would it have been out of, like...
Yes.
Okay, so what I felt was that shivers, chills, tingles.
Yeah.
I felt that through my neck, into my back, and then over a couple minutes, it started to go out. And it was like every time I got to the peak and closest to the light, it would, when you have the shivers and it gets that super intense, that moment of like where it's the most, that would be at the peak, and then the fall would be fading a little bit, then come back, fading, come back. And then what I also noticed is that the persistence of vision that we have in our eyes, I noticed that was present with the light, in that I would see the inverse, and as it would move, that inverse would be like a aura around it. So when it was red, it was like a blue bloom or something.
Yeah,
And it was, I could definitely see. And then you turn the light off and it was all black, and it was like, whoa, it was just, it made it even more intense. So it's really, really interesting. And we were just talking off camera because I didn't want to sound stupid by bringing this up. But when he was talking earlier about the autonomic nervous system, and he was talking about how it simulates when you're like a baby and being picked up by your mother and moved around, and these senses and things that your brain's just doing. It felt and sounded really familiar. It was like, well, that kind of sounds like what would be happening when you're in the womb. Is that off base?
Well, that is absolutely accurate and impressive. I didn't want to confuse everybody, but you're spot on. We start learning senses in the womb. You can taste, you can feel motion, you can actually see light that's shining at the mom's belly. You hear. So all those senses are starting to become present for your brain to have to learn how to navigate. But it's when you get out in the world, okay, and they're all bombarding you in unsafe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when the challenge is happening for the brain, and it learns to filter that and modulate it, and kind of like a sound engineer, change what I'm hearing right now, fluctuate, modulate, so it sounds good and sounds comfortable and I feel safe. You want to feel safe. If your sensory systems are coming in and your brain's not able to kind of modulate those or organize them, filter out what's not necessary at the moment and pay attention to what's really important at the moment, you feel unsafe and therefore anxious. Emotional regulation gets compromised. You can get agitated, angry, and you just kind of want to shut down. And you go in your room and you shut down.
Yeah.
You go through the terrible twos phase. That's a really important part of development, terrible twos. You got to express yourself because you're still trying to learn how to navigate this world of multi-sensory stimulation.
Yeah, this is super interesting, and it was the sound thing that cued me off too to the womb concept, because the sound is what you're going to get just naturally through logic. It makes sense that what you would get as a baby in the womb would be broken sounds of the things that are going on in the outside world. So it's really interesting. Is there anything else to do with this system specifically that we need to talk about in here before we kind of talk about what else you have available in the facility?
No, I think we've hit it. We hit it really thoroughly here.
Okay, so
we got the rotation as a part.
Yeah, you talked about how it moves and changes each time.
A lot of times we need to have a patient, one thing to say here, a lot of times we need a patient to feel more grounded, because the floatiness can be off a little bit more than they want to do, but it's what they need. If they don't like the motion, it's because they need it. So we are really good about helping them feel more secure and grounded with weights. We put weighted blankets, weighted toys, give you peppermints, we give you everything that you can imagine that's going to be helpful sensory-wise to ground you while you're getting this motion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of people will be scared about the motion, but they're fine. Okay, day or two, I'm fine now.
Yeah.
Yeah, day one, I went home and I was completely off. Yeah. There was nothing in my head, basically. I couldn't keep a thought.
Yeah.
Day two, though, it was like, this is kind of, at least for the table part of it, it was completely normal.
Yeah.
So I think he's right. Like, you just go through that phase. The first phase might be rough for some people, but it's still like, I said this to you before. I said, if you told me I had, because you were like, yeah, I know it's kind of long. I was like, if I had to do this for 200 days, and you were like, you just got to do it and make it better, like I'll be like, fine, because you just feel so much better just a few days in.
So before we go and take a look at the rest of the facility, I think now we've given all the information. If there's somebody somewhere who wants to learn more about this or see if it's available in their city, or maybe even, like, I'm sure you have people travel here. Like, where can people find that information for them?
All the information that you could ever imagine, plus how to find a provider that does this, is on the website called MST4, the number 4, brains.com. So M is in Mary, S is in Sam, T is in Tom. Okay. Yeah, MST, I'm talking to you. MST, the number 4, brains.com.
Yep. and I'll have all that information in the description and everything. And another aspect that people are going to have questions about, I'm sure you have a frequently asked questions section on the website for insurance and cost and things that you'll have to call in to find out and whatnot and all of that, right?
Yeah, at any location that's near you, you would call them to find out those details. Okay, each location is going to have their logistics and those kind of administrative things to talk to you about.
Okay, so with that, this isn't the only thing you have here. So
No.
maybe we could go and just take a look at what else is available here.
Oh, certainly. I'm proud to show. Let's go see.
Let's check it out. How long have you been
Yeah.
in this building while
30
we walk?
years. About
30
30
years. So do you have more than one of those systems?
Yeah.
So there was 3 in the building.
Yep, we have another one right in here.
Okay, so one in there and there's another one somewhere.
There's another one in another room across the building where we do dogs.
Cool.
Dogs
Whoa.
go through this for competitive reasons. Did I tell you that? Yeah.
That's a whole nother
I
video.
thought about that the other day because I had an older dog that I was like, man.
Especially our agility dogs that have a condition called early takeoff. They're misjudging their jumps. They're hesitating. We get them through this protocol, and I'm having dog owners and trainers rave about it. So this is just starting to happen. It's pretty cool. In here is a room that we primarily use for sports vision. So if we have our athletes who want to improve their performance, one of the ways you can improve your performance is by enhancing your vision performance. So our Vision Performance Center here does sports vision training, and you can Google sports vision training and find people in your area that do that. All right. We also use this for kids come in and do things that are more developmental. So our population of sports here with kids also using it, but the kids, this is going to be more looking like you might see for the kids that come in for vision therapy. We provide vision therapy for kids who are struggling with eye-hand coordination, reading. So reading sometimes is very difficult for a child, and it's not because they don't know how to read. It's because their eyes are not cooperating with staying on track. So it's called tracking. Difficulties tracking. They also, kids can be developmentally delayed, which is not a easy way of saying it, but they just haven't figured out correctly, efficiently how to keep the eyes converged. So that's developmental. Converging your eyes to read and then tracking with them. That's something we work on here, and it changes kids' lives in the area of reading success.
So that's this room.
Here's actually an interesting story. So, like, a lot of people don't know how that pertains to BMX, but if you remember, like, I had an old ride BMX photo. That was me doing a wall ride at Changa 1. So it's actually pitch black in that photo. Guy working there. I like the guy. I have a lot of respect for the guy, so I don't want to say his name, but he was pissed I was filming something and turned off all the lights on me. So I'm literally riding in the dark, and I can wall ride from one side of the park all the way to the spine or whatever. As time went on, because of this, like, seeing in the dark became impossible. So it got to the point where, like, walking down the stairs in the dark, I would trip over stuff. Just get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night was, like, treacherous. I could fall. And, you know, once again, like, I'm kind of a monster truck person. I'll just keep going. I'm like, I'm fine. Something was weird that day or in my way. But really it was my eyesight was so bad because my vestibular system was off. So it's interesting because that's full functioning vestibular system is the wall ride in the dark.
Yeah.
Years
later, it's I can't walk down the stairs when it's dim.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and vision and vestibular work hand in hand together 24/7 unless you turn off lights. So then you got to really rely on your vestibular system. But
that's
the
super
coordination of vision and vestibular is what we work on here a lot. So for example, this is vestibular stimulation, okay, whether it's this or we're doing a little rotation while they're doing eye exercise activities, tracking the letters on the wall, or we're tossing them a ball.
So what else do we have?
Yeah, and then we have several therapy rooms that we have one-on-one therapy. So you're going to be not in an area always where there's other people. You're going to be one-on-one with an individual therapist, and that's who you stick with during your therapy. That's your next phase of therapy, is one-on-one with a therapist doing more of this activity where it's not just the table. You'll still maybe do some of that, but we're going to really customize one-on-one cognitive activity instruction kind of therapy to build on what you've learned subcortically.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have our waiting room out here with lots of cool testimonials There's a statistic poster that people say, wow, they learn about the MST, the multisensory training for our concussion patients. This was 73 consecutive concussion patients one day. I said, let's look at our spreadsheet, and we've got some great data there to take a snapshot of. And then these are other patients' testimonials and case reports all over the walls here. And we ran out of wall room, of course, a long time ago. So that's what's on our website, is tons of testimonials and cases, both written and video. So
Awesome. So, I mean, at this point, we've seen it all. We've experienced it, heard from people who have done it. And I think all that's left is if you feel like this is something that applies to you. I mean, I'm not getting paid to do this. Nobody, like Dorito just called me one day. I was like, hey, this is going to help people. And I was like, I like helping people. So we're here, and that's why I'm willing to do something like this. So if it sounds like something that might help you, if you feel like you need help in any of these things that we talked about, or something that you're dealing with, like even if you're not going to come to a performance center, just go somewhere and talk to somebody.
Here, this is an organization that is very important for you to find. It's called NORA, Neuro Optometric Rehabilitation Association. And you'll find doctors like me that see concussion trauma patients every day.
Awesome.
We work with them in other ways other than the table. It's not just the table.
Yeah.
There's so many other things with lenses, prisms, and vision activities. So this website, let's see, noravisionrehab.org.
Perfect. So
Go there.
with that being said, thanks for the time. Thanks for showing me the table. Thanks for all of this stuff and helping people. This is really cool. I'm excited to, I don't know.
It feels good to help people.
Yeah,
So
it
good.
does.
It
So
feels like an obligation.
all of the info anyone could need to find these resources in the description. And I heard you might even be working on a YouTube channel too.
I got a little bit of a YouTube video playlist, but I don't know how to put it together in a professional way. So,
Well,
I'll leave
I
it
can
with
help
that.
with that. And if
Yeah.
you want to see the playlist or the channel, it'll be on the screen. Thanks again, guys. And we'll see you guys next time for another one.
Thanks.
Goodbye.